fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Oh. Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
This is very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Yeah, so we're using the VRS Direct Force Pro this year. We have a wheel adapter right here, so I'm using the rim I used last year, but the motor right here produces a lot of power, a lot of precision, and it helps me, just feel the car more, feel the car a lot quicker, especially, this week we're at Sonoma. I can feel it, when it hits the curbs, any little change in the car, the wheel reacts a lot quicker than your typical gear-driven or belt-driven wheel. For example, if you're on oval and the rear tires break loose, force feedback on it corrects a lot quicker than your typical wheels. There's no resistance pretty much as far as being able to make quick corrections on the wheel. So all that, paired with how precise the wheel itself is, it makes it to where it helps you as a driver, to find that extra hundredth or thousandths of a second. So when you're getting a direct drive wheel, especially the VRS wheel, it's heavy duty. It's got good weight to it, it's not a plastic toy. It feels like you can really beat up on it. A lot of people have issues with their plastic gear-driven wheels just kind of breaking after a couple years. This thing just feels like it can go forever. The forces are really strong where if you might have to let go of the wheel if you get into the wall. You can adjust all that with the settings on it and stuff, but the wheel itself doesn't play around. It's got way more strength than you could ever need, and that's what makes it good, that you can adjust that down to whatever the car needs. So initially you'll be able to get the controller box and the motor together, and eventually you will be able to add a rim onto that option. They'll also be including a button plate on it to put on the rim to have all sorts of different buttons and functionality. Also, pedals are coming, so that's a pretty big deal as well. Hasn't been covered too much, but the goal is to also have pedals to go along with the Direct Force Pro. So that's pretty exciting. The wheel feels good. It feels very much like a real world steering wheel. You just kind of feel like what you would imagine the car to feel like. A real steering wheel in a car is very smooth, it's very direct, very quick, and that's what this wheel feels like.
They say that this place is the birth of open wheel racing, the birth of Formula racing, as it were. It was around this time in 1949 when people got together and said, well, we want to go and promote motor racing, and we've got this unused airfield after the Second World War, and by goodness, it's been 5 years since we last had one of those. We don't plan on having one for another 75 years or so, or even longer than that. So the plan came together, and as such, this became the first round of the Formula One World Championship in 1950. Back in those days, they would only hit 130 miles an hour. Today, we showcase the Dallara Formula IR, round 10 of the championship, and speeds well over in excess of 200 miles an hour out there on circuit today. This is Silverstone. It is the home of British motorsport and the home of British sim racing. To go on top of that, SimSpeed TV today brings you the coverage of this round. And of course, I'm Jake Sperry, joined alongside by Jay Kennedy here in the commentary box. And Jay, 3 words: Tamash is back.
Yeah, exciting to see how he's going to go. Championship has got very, very tight at the top too, with drop rounds starting to come into effect. So it's going to be a very, very exhilarating race. Looking forward to seeing how it plays out. And there's lots to play for in a very, very strong quality field.
And the quality goes beyond the levels that we expect. We zoom on in to Middle England, ladies and gentlemen, not necessarily north with Northampton, Southampton you can see down at the very bottom there, Bristol to the left, London to the right, Birmingham, Liverpool, Manchester and Cardiff, all of what you'd expect from the United Kingdom. But as we zoom on into the centre of the country and the home, you would say, of Formula cars. This is where you see 7 of the 10 Formula 1 teams. They are based in and around this track here in Towcester, I should say, Northamptonshire, United Kingdom. 1948 it opened. Configuration we got here 2011, and of course 18 turns. That Lewis Hamilton straight now, the front stretch, and everybody all on focus. This, I would say, has changed for impeccable speeds and for the better.
Definitely for the better in high downforce cars and fast cars. Maybe not so much for the club style cars, but for the fast cars like the iR-01 and the Formula 1 cars and things like that, definitely has changed for the better. It's improved the racing, it's improved the flow of the circuit, and added some extra challenges for the drivers, which were probably missing on the older layout. It's going to provide some very, very tight racing, going to provide some tough racing for a lot of these drivers too.
And this is tough racing. This is going to be tough battling out there. There is the championship standings. Now, of course, not all of the points have scored so far. Marco Sanfilippo, 1,400. Tamas Simon, 1,292. 108 points in it, yes, but Tamas Simon has weeks in the back pocket. Marco Sanfilippo, you would argue, does not at this point in time. And you can see how close it is as well for 4th and 5th. Just 4 points splitting Andreas Henkel and James Chesters. Remember, Jay, there was a point in the championship where James Chesters was championship leader.
Yeah, exactly right. And early on, he was leading the championship, but it's dropped down a little bit. Hasn't had as great a luck as he had early on as well. So, yeah, this is going to be crunch time now. A lot of these guys really have to put in the quality racing at this point, because if they don't do it now, the points usually start to drop away as we get further into the season. Races like today are going to be key.
They certainly are. And you talk about a world-class venue like this. Talk about, Jay, as we are in the middle of qualifying, Tamas Simon, 128.3 is 8/10 clear of Danilo Sanfilippo right now. There you can see on screen one of the Sanfilippo brothers getting out there on circuit. That is Marco, as Tamas Simon is a second clear of Andreas Henkel at this point in time. One of the keys we've been talking about is just how strong this run-in is for the championship. We are here at Silverstone now, round 10. Next week, round 11, we're jumping ourselves over to Suzuka. And then to finish it off, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Yeah, so next week, very, very similar in the openness of the circuit. But that final round, you wouldn't want to be relying on getting a good points haul in that last round. The walls are so close. So you really need to get it done this week and next week to get yourself into that championship push, and then hope for a good result at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. But we've seen in every single series we've ever covered at that circuit, strange things happen, and the unexpected is to be expected there. So relying on a good result just because you've got good pace there isn't enough. You need luck on your side as well.
Luck is very much there. And of course, we have a split field today of 30 drivers into 2 groups of 15. So it's going to put points at a premium as Sanfilippo makes that drive to the line. Short run to the line. It's only a 28.6 on that opening lap. Tomasz Kozdron feeling like he's in with a good shout. He's gone 3rd, surprisingly, in qualifying right now. And they can see on the back end of the circuit, the former front stretch here, James Chesters, then looking for a good time in the MXS machine. He is way down the order right now. Currently hasn't set a time out of the 15. And 2 other drivers who haven't set times or will not set times. Philip Schiff is one of them. Thomas Tartari is going to be the other. And Chester's here making his way, struggling a little bit on the exit there of Chapel Corner onto that very famous hanger straight.
Yeah, rear grip, well, when you're struggling for rear grip, getting that corner right and nailing it down that straight is very, very tough. And these cars have so much power. It is probably one of the toughest sections of the track because you just want to get on the throttle so early. So seeing not only Chesters, but a few other drivers struggling through that section as well, that means his lap's not going to count because he's run off the circuit. That was very, very close to ending in tears.
It definitely was, and that is just how hard they're having to push. It's 40 degrees track temperature, so they're going to be dealing with understeer quite a bit today. So when they push the limit too much, they'll snap with oversteer. Omar Bahar improves to P6 with a 129.7, jumping Jacob Oberstadt with time. But there goes Marco, and it's only a 28.4, so he's got himself 4/10 clear of Tomasz Kozdrant, but he's 4/10 behind Tamas Shimon, which means that we're in for a treat of a race, and that is the last driver to set a time. So what we will be able to do as the clock ticks down and hits 0 is take ourselves over towards the starting grid, and this is how everyone will line up. Tamas Shimon then back with power. Pole position on a 28.059 is there by 4/10 of a second nearly over Marco Sanfilippo there in second position, the championship leader. Tomasz Kozdrant, then the Polish driver, will start third after having a couple of poor weeks. That's a really good qualifying for him. Andreas Henkel, of course, he's in that championship battle with James Chesters. He lines up in P4 with Danilo Sanfilippo surprisingly down in 5th place and Omar Bahar in 6th position, the American. Jacob Oberslack then makes sure that the next 3 drivers on the inside of row number 4, 5, and 6 are all Americans. He starts then in 7th with Cal Young in the race spot car in 8th, with Brandon Powell in 9th and Michael Farbach. They're the Austrian rounding out the top 10. Richard Craig starts 11th, with 12th going to Anthony Cat, the last driver to put a time in on the board, because Thomas Tartari, the Italian, Philip Schiff, and then the Frenchman James Chesters then make the 15 that'll be taking up to the grid. A lot of room as well on this front stretch, the Hamilton Straight as it has now been christened, Jay, and that should be good news for these drivers as they look to get themselves going.
Yeah, one of the big positives about moving the front straight is how wide it is. The old front straight didn't have much room off on the left-hand side where before it was wall, so to see a lot more open is a big plus for the drivers. Fingers crossed we can get through the first couple of corners without any issues. We haven't seen too many races where we haven't seen something happen at the start that's cost a couple of drivers their race. So fingers crossed we see it fairly clean for the start and we have some good battles. But this battle between Simon and Sanfilippo,
yeah,
going to be absolute grandstand stuff.
It certainly will. All drivers on the grid then. Lights will come up and we are getting ready. 30 laps, 1 stop required here today at Silverstone. There's the green and there's the go. Horrible start from the second row there from Kozdrant. Immediately around the outside, Henkel's got a stormer. Henkel's got a stormer up and over. Up and over. I think that's Omar Bahar in trouble. And there's 4, 5 in trouble. Tartari's in the wall. Powell's in the wall. And Richard Craig as well having to take a bad and a massive start then that's gone wrong here at the first corner.
That was a huge launch for Omar Bahar. He just went flying through the air, but what a start from Andreas Henkel. And Marco Sanfilippo back to 3rd, and Danilo Sanfilippo back to 7th.
A crazy start here at Silverstone, the home of British motorsport, and we've seen it all. Virtual Racing School replay then up on your screens for you. That's a heavy, heavy hit going through. Look at that. Ow. There's no stopping that. Gravel wouldn't do anything, nor would runoff. Thank goodness that's sim racing. Now, let's get a look at that start. They all bottleneck with Kozdrant here. Henkel got a stormer. You can see it's just a case of moving over, and he runs out of room there. Marco Sanfilippo trying to take the racing line through the corner, and then Powell and Tartari also have their moment heading in towards turn 1. So big dramas on the opening lap of the race in the opening corner. They can see it. It's too wide as they go through, and then suddenly everyone panics because they see an incident, and then effectively it's pick your lane from that point onwards. Oh, wow. That was more than close. That was heads-up driving there from Richard Craig. 1 lap score complete then here at Silverstone. It is Tamas Shimon who has the lead of this race. Henkel is in second, but for how much longer? Because they can see behind, stalking and shadowing, is the championship leader, Marco Sanfilippo, trying to make amends after what was a distinctly average start by his standards as they make their way onto the Wellington Straight and over, of course, this left at Brooklands. The building you saw in the background was the BDRC building, which is where all of the action takes place for British motorsport on a regional level. And now on the power they go through Woodcote Corner and now onto the old front stretch heading towards Copse.
There's such an iconic section of track coming up right here too. The run up to Maggots and Beckett's. Such incredible speeds through this section of the circuit in these cars too. They're still doing nearly 270 kilometers an hour at the turning point. And to have the control that they have in these high-powered cars is incredible, but Marco Sanfilippo, not quite as good a run as I may have thought he would have got there. And he not quite able to close that gap down to Andreas Henkel. In the back, Danilo Sanfilippo has got past Anthony Cat. And Cosdron and Chester's having a very, very good battle. Remember, these guys are championship rivals at the moment too, aren't they?
I think you're thinking of Henkel at this stage. Cosdron was a little late into the championship push. So for James Chesters, he's just hoping he gains places, and he needs to at this stage. 3 drivers out then on the opening lap. Tartari, Powell and Bahar. No shocks there. Of course, Oberslack spun at turn 1. That's why he's a little bit further back down the order. It's worth noting as well, Cal Young is where the train stacks up at this moment. You got Farback, you got Sanfilippo, Cat, Chester's, Cosdron. They're all there, and they're all within a second of each other.
Yeah, exactly right. They're all very, very close at this present stage. Young, Farback, Sanfilippo and Cat. But last lap by Sanfilippo was the fastest out of them. So Danilo will be trying to get back into his usual position of P3. But one positive is we actually get to see Danilo Sanfilippo in a battle for the first time in a long time, which is great.
Of course, we saw Danilo Sanfilippo falling backwards last week in the racing that we've got, but he's not a, I would say, familiar face to being in a battle, as he tends to find his own spot as he charges through Maggots and now Beckett and now Chappell coming up just after that as well. Henkel doing a really good job as well in second of holding up Marco Sanfilippo, allowing Tamas Simon to break away. He can't find a way through, but on the back stretch, that's the run they get in towards the Stowe corner, and they'll see that gull wing, and that is leaning over to one side. Michael Farback, he let Danilo Sanfilippo have that one.
Surprising to see. I wonder if it was a mistake at mid-apex and just decided, well, rather than try and fight the car, I'll just get out of the throttle and move out of the way rather than fight, knowing Danilo has so much more pace. But Anthony Cat now right there, as well as big lock up for Danilo Sanfilippo. Not able to take advantage of anything at the moment is Anthony Cat, but he's right there, ready to pounce the second there is an opportunity.
Yeah, and one good news for the drivers, they won't get that acrid smell of brake smoke in their nose. They drive virtual, of course, as they make that move in towards Brooklands and Luffield corner here, the long 180-degree right, which is always known as a corner in wet weather. You can take 2 different lines in, but there is Henkel, there is Marco Sanfilippo, and there is the effort being put in. That Haas machine is really having to try and hold back Marco, and this is where dirty air becomes so vital in this sort of race. Through Maggots, Beckett's, Chappell, it's a real tough battle for Marco Sanfilippo to stay anywhere near Andreas Henkel. This is where he needs the draft of the hanger straight to come into play. Does he have enough of an angle? Nope. Has to lift out of it then and hit the brakes.
One thing I'm thinking, just thinking out loud right at this second, wondering if Marco Sanfilippo has a tiny little bit of damage from that contact with Omar Bahar on lap 1 when they interlocked wheels. It'd be interesting to know if the pace of Marco isn't quite there because of that incident at the start. I mean, Thomas Simon a second and a bit quicker every lap so far. He's broken away to a 5-second advantage already. I'm sure that has to play some sort of impact in this race. There's no doubt that it wouldn't have done something to the car, but how heavy is the damage is the big question.
Well, that is the key, and they can see Anthony Cat, the big whale sticker on the front nose, as he looks to try and push forward, looking for a move. We look from the back of Cal Young, then making that charge through over towards that wonderful Brooklands corner. You can just see how the train stacks up behind, and it's uncannily difficult today, it seems, to go and get that move done and to get that position which everyone's been searching for. They're all running very nicely, and I wouldn't be surprised to see, with how many high-speed corners there are on this circuit, drivers looking to try and go to maybe a medium downforce package, as Danilo has finally unlocked it here going into Maggots.
Yeah, but what this is going to do too is, now that he's got through, Cal Young's going to be susceptible to the guys behind. Running a slightly different line on the entry is compromising everything the whole way through. Michael Farback.
Marco through.
Ooh.
Look at this for second as well. So there's the battle down the inside. Not quite there, but Marco Sanfilippo getting it unlocked at Stowe. That is the move. Cat now with an angle potentially to the inside. Won't get there on Michael Farback. Number 15 on the car for Michael indicates that he's got the lowest iRacing in this field of anyone else. We catch the move between Henkel, I believe, and Marco Sanfilippo here on camera down the inside. Henkel tried everything to hold that one around the outside, but there's a reason why Marco Sanfilippo's wheel rims are gold-plated.
Is that why they're gold-plated? I don't know if that's why. But,
I mean, he's championship leader.
I mean, you're right. And that was a very, very nice move. He set that up very, very well. But have a look at the gap that Daneo's already pulled now that he's through on Cal Young. He's already got over a second. So he definitely is being held up being in that pack. Just that horrible qualifying and poor start. He's back now ahead of where he started and he's starting to move on forward. And guess what? He's in an island all by himself once again.
Ah, vintage Danilo Sanfilippo. Nobody around him out there on track. But you can see that group behind. This is going to get very dicey very quickly. Anthony Cat looking the most likely to make a move, trying to get nice and neat through the Chapel corner before sending a little prayer down the hangar straight, maybe, over towards Stowe. Again, everyone's got that little bit of slipstream against everyone else. So it means that you can't really get an advantage by top speed. And it's so tough to go and make that move, especially if you're on the back of that train. Thomas Kosdron, for example, who started in third, back down to ninth after a poor start. Everyone's going to be looking here on how they're going to get themselves through and deal with this battle. And it's not just them behind, because you've got Rashad Craig 2 seconds down the road. Philip Schiff's a further couple of seconds back of that as well. They're both going to be focusing on how they make things happen.
Interesting for Kosdron, though. One thing he could do from being back there, we know he's got pace, but he could just be quite content saving a bunch of fuel and making sure he can undercut at the pit stop. It's not a bad position to be in such a huge train.
No, I totally agree with you here. You got 5 there. There's a big aggressive look to the inside by Michael Farbach, and he wasn't going to get that one done on one Mr. Cal Young. He was making sure that he was having absolutely none of it as he drove on through. You've got the likes of Chester's behind, Kosdron all there, but Farbach now is on the aggressive here. Lifts out of it though into Cop's corner, trying to attack every exit of these corners as he can. He won't get a good enough run here to Maggots and Beckett's to think as well that this is a nearly 6-kilometer lap, and they're doing this in 90 seconds or under.
It's amazing the pace that they've got in these cars. They just drive them so smooth. What a nice little bit of drafting there to get this done. And he's...
they come together. And paying the price then is Cal Young, who tried to make sure it was some close racing, the contact together, and ultimately Farbach now having to really fight against Anthony Cat as just at the moment we go to replay. Anthony Cat is down the inside on the run to turn number 1, will take the place away. This is the catalyst then to all of this move happening then out on circuit. He gets down the inside here to Farbach as he moves on forward, and then just understeering out wide a little bit there causes the contact. And you know, it's very understandable in these hot weather conditions.
It's difficult out there, and we're surprised. We've both been surprised that they've been as clean as they had been up until that point. So disappointing to see an incident. Cal Young's continuing on, which is good to see, but he'll be not too impressed with the understeer move there.
A mistake then from Cat, and this is going to allow Farbach back through. Had a slide on the exit there of Luffield and trying on the outside of Cops. It's always brave. Kosdron's got a fantastic run, by the way, just behind this, and he's trying to go too wide here into Maggots and Beckett's. He lifts out, though. There's the Polish driver with James Chesters not wanting to risk anything. This is the last place James Chesters is traditionally found as well. He's the sort of driver who is Mr. Clean, Mr. Consistent, Mr. I finish races. Here comes Kosdron then, looking to the outside, trying to pick up this move and get it done. Cat dealing with Farbach just in front, but Kosdron in the Alpha style machine round the outside. Thank you very much, Lee.
And have a look at what's happened with these guys battling as well. Rashad Craig, Philip Schiff are now on the back. Oh, that's off the curb. He's going to continue on. And that was a huge moment.
As they go through. Look at Schiff! Look at Schiff! He's got both of them! Schiff's got both of them on the front straight. What a move!
Through the middle. Passes Rashad Craig, Thomas Kosdron. Rashad Craig, I think, compromised line through the final corner because of the mistake for Cosdron on the curb. Philip Schiff, he didn't care. He just went straight through the middle of all of them up into 8th position. Nice move.
Schiff's got nothing to lose. Remember, he started from the back of the grid. Last time we were racing, he got a podium, remember, last time out. So this is something that Schiff seemingly likes. He managed to get a finish. And, oh, big correction from Michael Farbach coming out there in the left field corner. You can tell how these drivers are pushing. You've got so much torque in the rear tyres of this machine that you are fighting this car at every time you put the power down.
100%. It's just basically a non-stop fight the whole way, isn't it, this car? Just always wanting to try and do something to put you in the fence. And the ones that can tame it best seem to be the ones at the front. The ones that can tame it well are the ones in the mid-pack.
Tell you what, you wouldn't want to go to the gym at all. You could just use this as your workout with just how difficult it is. Cosdron down to the inside of Rashad Craig. Craig holding it around the outside and doing well enough then to keep that place for the moment. Cosdron looking
Marco.
very...
Marco's lost the spot. Sorry to cut you off there, Sperry.
He has. He absolutely has. And it's a spin out the final corner. So just like that, a little bit aggressive. He's lucky he's not... I think he's just hit the back of the pit wall. The Marco Sanfilippo pushing here, making a mistake. You can see, round he goes. Does he tack the pit wall? Yes, he does. But I think he's just got away with that sort of hit. He's scrubbed enough speed there, sliding around.
He doesn't look like he's lost too much pace at this stage, but keep an eye on that over the next couple of laps and see if he's okay to continue on at full speed. But that's a scary, scary moment for Marco Sanfilippo. Not only scary, uncharacteristic error.
It's so uncharacteristic as well by the point of how he was trying to go through that corner. He didn't grab curb through that corner either. So the fact that it's gone around, that's purely on power.
Yep, and that's very, very uncharacteristic of either of the Sanfilippos, any of the guys at the front, to have a spin based on too much power down. And again, does that come back to that incident lap 1 with he and Bahar? Is it a tiny little bit of damage to the left-hand side wheels that's caused an issue there? Is there slight, minor suspension damage? Is there a little bit of tyre damage now that we're 10 laps into the stint that's now starting to show from that lap 1 incident? It could be a lot of these factors all combining together or compounding together. I tried to combine the two words at once there. It could be any of those factors or all of them in the smallest minute detail or compounding into one.
Certainly could be. It's not stopped Marco Sanfilippo despite the hyperheating of the tyres, which does happen here on iRacing. So that is something. Look at this. Michael Farbach, mirrors full of James Chester's, trying to look to the inside, but Farbach with a much more aggressive line through Brooklands corner completely neuters that attempt at an overtake. So patience needing to be exercised by James Chester's, and he's the sort of driver who has so much patience that he may as well be a patron saint.
He'll just sit there happily content, watching, waiting for an error. It's very, very smart driving in these sort of cars to not try and force a pass. He just sits and waits for the right opportunity to make the pass, and often he gets given the position just based on being consistent and clean rather than forcing a move. He instead forces an error out of the driver ahead and gets himself positions that way, which is a very, very smart, intelligent driving in these sort of cars. So that's why James Chesters has been very, very consistent up towards the pointy end or in the top half of every single race we've seen so far.
It's the sort of driving style that says either you go fast or I get the place. It's that simple. I'm not going to force it, but you've got to go fast if you want to hold on. There is Marco Sanfilippo, third position, eyes on Andreas Henkel, and we're getting close as he gets really close to the back there of Henkel into Brooklands corner. We are getting close to that pit stop window being open. A lot of drivers will think about half and half, 15 and 15. Other drivers will try and get it down as far as they possibly can over the course of their stint. Try and get to lap 20, maybe lap 21 as a time to go through. Worth keeping an eye out, though. They are using quite a bit as they try and go on through over the course of their lap. So we might just see this be a little bit of an earlier stop than a later stop here around the Silverstone track.
Yeah, I think you've got so much of the lap that's 100% throttle. It's not like other circuits that we've seen where, you know, it's a lot of stop-start sections. Very, very similar to Monza and Imola, the Formula circuits that we've been to, that have that huge 100% throttle sections. So, yeah, I think we'll probably see a close to 50-50 split as opposed to that longer first stint that we've seen in other races. Tell you what, Marco here, he's trying to get this done, but he just can't find a way through. He's going to have to try and force an error out of Henkel and hope that he doesn't make another one himself.
Do you know what I'd probably do at this situation, Jay? I'd probably go for a pit stop.
Yep. The only issue he's got pitting, though, it's going to bring him out in that battle pack that we were watching before, and I think that's why we didn't see him already in the pits, but that's a nice move. Beautiful.
Or you could just make the move there.
Just chuck it up the inside. Just throw it in there.
I mean, let's be perfectly honest here. You don't need to worry about getting through on Andreas Henkel if you're already through Andreas Henkel.
Exactly. You just make the move and don't have to worry about it. But yeah, that was a very, very nice move. But yeah, I think you're right in that pitting would have been an option, but the issue with pitting would have brought him out in that pack we were watching behind, and I think he knew that. And I think that was why he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to come out in the middle of this and know that these guys are going to go long and try and force his way through, give up even more time, and probably would then not actually undercut Henkel at all.
Well, speaking of time, we are 14 laps into this race. We've completed 13 laps. Tamas Shimon leads by over 16 seconds.
Incredible. You just see there goes Simon. Where is Henkel? Henkel is in. No, sorry, that was Simon. And there's Sanfilippo and Henkel. Huge gap back. And there's Danilo Sanfilippo actually starting to close in on these guys as well. Of course, that spin for Marco would have dropped him down. And then the battle between Marco and Henkel has meant that Danilo is catching those guys. He's only 3.5 seconds back now.
3.5 seconds and gained a second technically over that last lap. It's also interesting to see who watches when you go around and see some of the racing action here around this Silverstone circuit. I've seen the leader in the iGPS Championship out there watching, that of course being Matteo Ugolotti. So everyone who is anyone keeping an eye out on this sort of series, seeing if it's worth their attempts at going through and making an effort. But look at this. This is box office seating for James Chesters. Far back is on the back of Anthony Catt again.
Yeah, talk about watching. Have a look at the view he had. You're right, box office seats. Perfect spot to watch this fight. But Farback's just not quite quick enough, is he? He's got more pace for sure, but he just hasn't got it in the right spots to be able to get through on Anthony Catt.
Catt is slinging it into every corner in that brilliant Magnets Beckett's Chapel section, often imitated, never duplicated, that bit of road. And now you can see through the right into Stowe. Once more, not having that run through those lefts and rights is leaving Michael Farback in the very difficult clutches of the dirty air. And that is what is hurting over the course of this race. Finding yourself in the dirty air, not able to find a move. Also on behind, Rashad Craig and Tomasz Kozron keeping each other company at this stage in the battle. What is going on for 9th and 10th? Few technical blip outs then for Tomasz Kozron at this moment.
And Cal Young continuing on after that incident between he and Farback. Was it Farback or Catt?
Yes.
Yeah, it was Farback.
It was Farback.
Yeah. So he's continuing on back in 12th position, but he is faster than a couple of drivers ahead of him. So he is starting to close gaps down. Not quite quick enough at this stage, but as the tyres continue to wear off, that will probably close in a little bit more. And if he does pit earlier and get those fresh tyres early, that could help him as well.
Worth noting as well that Brandon Powell is back out there on circuit, currently circulating at 5 laps down. And, well, there you have him right now. He's just about to get lapped by the entire train, which would be a scary prospect indeed. Now, Philip Schiff has actually, he's just going to run off the circuit and allow everyone through. Wise decision. Philip Schiff now has a really good opportunity. Chester's incredibly wide going out of Chapel and onto the hangar straight. And Schiff is looking really, really dicey and aggressive out there today. We saw him make that 3-wide move. I think he's got a fantastic run that he's going to use to the outside as into the pits comes Michael Farback for his stop. At this moment in time, you'd say Philip Schiff is pretty much on it, as also in, well, hello, Danilo Sanfilippo going for it, as now Schiff's got a wonderful run.
Definitely has. Surprised he didn't get that move done there, but he smartly kept out of it. And James Chester's, he'll be happy that that Farback's pitted, because he now has a little bit of clear track ahead of him, but he's actually got to look in his mirrors for the first time in a little while as well, because he was happy and content being at the back of the train. Now he's got people pushing and trying to get moves done. Schiff's going to get through. Beautiful move.
Comfy move from Philip Schiff, who of course took about 8-9 weeks to get the monkey off his back of finishing a race here at SimSpeed TV, and suddenly he's found the magic formula.
Yeah, great to see him having a much more successful run at the moment, as Danilo around 8 seconds for his pit stop. Yep.
So into the pits comes Tamas Simon from the race lead. Lap 17. He goes on to start then. And of course, the pit lane here is really slow. It's 55 Ks as Marco Sanfilippo follows in. And the reason why it's so slow, why it's 55 Ks, Jay, is because iRacing don't want there to be a situation where it's faster, for example, like Bathurst, take the pits than it is to go around the final couple corners and get across the line.
Yeah, exactly right. Don't want people to try and game the system and, you know, try and cheat their way to a couple extra seconds, which we, as you said, Bathurst does have a little bit of a glitch there, which is being looked at and trying to be fixed. The fingers crossed we don't see too many use that. Marco Sanfilippo, I was a bit concerned that he may have got a speeding in pit lane penalty, but he's okay. There comes out 7.8 second stop. Danilo still a fair way back, so gap between he and Tamo Simon still around the same. And Tamo, oh no. Ooh. That's Anthony Cat around. Was there contact?
It is. There was no contact there. It was right in front of Tamas Simon. So that is a big scary moment for the race leader who just made his stop. Anthony Cat, an uncharacteristic error from the Welshman as he went on through and tried to keep things going. Now, that would be the tyres saying, I haven't got much tyre life left. Just the back stepping out as he goes over that very flat curb. And look at Tamas Simon straight to the inside. Everyone follow me through. I am your leader. I am your lifeguard captain.
This would have been a scary moment for him, just seeing all that smoke and not knowing what to do or where the car's going. He's lucky to get away with that.
Cat's run again.
Oh,
no. The tyres have just completely let go for Anthony Cat, who will go into the pits with Cal Young. Rashad Craig in the pits as well. But Anthony Cat spinning out of Stowe. Now, Cat and Young, that is a battle we have seen all season.
Yeah, and they've always put on a great show, haven't they? Each and every time. So they always seem to find themselves back together at the end of a race. And it's happened again. So I'm not upset to see these guys going to fight again. Interesting that Henkel's continued on for another lap. So he's going 2 laps longer than Simon and Sanfilippo.
I think for Andreas Henkel, he's keeping an eye out on all those other drivers. Of course, Danilo Sanfilippo is keeping an eye on as well. But when you're setting your fastest lap out there, when everyone else has come into the pit, you know, is that really a bad decision? Henkel's just using everything of the tyres right now to make sure that his race ends up in his back pocket.
Yeah, just push on until you can't go any further, I guess, is the theory from Henkel. He's going to go until the pace goes out of the tyres, which is now.
Yep, so makes the call, dives down into the lane squirrely there as he wanted to make sure he was close to the line and under the 55k limit that is out there at the moment. Rashad Craig giving a thank you out there to, I believe, Brandon Powell, who got well out of the way as and allowed them both through. But also into the pits then will come Philip Schiff. So Tamas Simon will regain the race lead. Worth noting here, James Chester's still yet to come down in and make that stop here on lap 19. he goes on to right now, as also into the pits comes the Polish driver, Tomasz Kozron.
Yep, so everyone is now pitted except for Chester's. Henkel still stopped. Marco Sanfilippo through.
Yep, no surprises there, but Danio's going to be the key here. And there is Danio on the front stretch. So that is a big gap still for Andreas Henkel, as out of the box and away now will go Philip Schiff, who will come out quite nicely, I would say, in P5.
Yep, and he's got a fairly big gap back to Thomas Kozron. Good job, Jay. Thomas Kozron, who is just coming out of the pits now. It's too early in the morning for me to try and talk and speak words.
Yes, I know that feel. I have that every time it comes along on a Sunday morning for me, or a Saturday morning it is, when it comes to Scops. So I know the feeling. And there is Cal Young in 8th position. In 12th position right now, and that's the lap traffic of Brandon Powell getting out of the way there. He is the last runner on the leading lap, is Cal Young, and eyes are firmly focused on not being that, because he's still got Anthony Catt there just in front. The gap around about a second.
Interesting the lap times as well. Anthony Catt's fastest lap, a lot faster than Cal Young's, but Catt just seemed to have used the grip in the tyres a lot more than what we saw from the likes of Cal Young, who obviously was back because of an issue. The rest of the pack has spread a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see now that James Chesters comes in, where he will slide in. I'm going to say he'll come in, just behind Philip Schiff?
There is Schiff making his way through the final corner. This is going to be close, you know, because it's very tight to the line, over the stripe, and now getting up to speed here will be Chesters, but vroom, you're gone just like that. You're over 300 Ks through turn 2. You're at 308 if you Philip Schiff through there. I tell you what, you get a speed gun on there, there'll be no cop car in the country that would get anywhere close to catching Philip Schiff there through turn 1. That is amazing here. Chester's a couple of seconds back, but crucially again, a little bit of a gap. Closest battle out there on track right now, Michael Farback versus Tomasz Kozron.
Yep, and this will be a good battle too, because these guys are both on redemption stories, aren't they? Kozron, of course, great job in qualifying, but horrible start, and Farback's been involved in a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact throughout this race. He'll be hoping that it ends a lot cleaner than it was early on. I mean, no major issue, just unfortunate the way that he and Cal Young interlocked wheels. Thomas Simon crosses the line, 10 laps to go for him. The rest of the field, though, he's still got 11 to go, and they're still fighting and pushing as hard as they can.
I'll tell you what would be really frustrating, though, for Michael Farback is as he looks behind at Tomasz Kozron, he's noticing that at least 4 times I've counted on this lap that Kozron is blinking in and out. And blinking in terms of a prospect is something that's not often talked about up at the highest level. It's for a number of years, Jay, you'd say it's the taboo that nobody wanted to talk about. But it is a part of sim racing, especially when we're on an online platform like this. Some drivers don't have the best internet connection in the world. They do have themselves blinking in and out a little bit with their connection to the server. And it does make life very distracting for the driver behind to see a car pop in and out again.
Yeah, the only plus, I guess, is that he's behind and not ahead, because if he was ahead and doing that, it would be very, very difficult, distracting and frustrating for Michael Farback. So I guess being the car ahead and having someone do that is not as bad as it could be. But you're right, it is difficult, but I'm sure it's frustrating for Kozron as well, because a lot of the time, well, a huge slide there for Farback, a lot of the time you can't do anything about it. And when you're already in a race too, you can't change anything, you can't fix anything. And I'm sure that he knows that it's happening, and he'll be frustrated by it too, because you understand in those situations, because you've been in the reverse role, you don't like to be the car that is blinking as much as you don't like seeing the car that is blinking. So I'm sure he's not happy that it's him blinking at the moment, but he's still pushing on. And I'm wondering if he's just making sure that his internet or his connection settles a little bit before he tries to make a move. Because often if you get side by side with a car and you have those little glitches, can result in some nasty, nasty incidents if things go wrong.
It certainly can do, and as well as that, if you are blinking and you're the car in front, car behind doesn't actually get draft for the time that you are out there blinking. Cosdron with a wonderful run there through Farm Corner and over towards the village. A big lockup at the village then for one Mr. Michael Farback. Seemingly he's going to leave a little bit there in his wake as he tries to charge on forward through Aintree Corner onto the Wellington Straight. He goes on forward. It's going to be a case then that he's trying to keep his race pretty much in check, but there's not much more that you can do. Gap's really opening up then. It's 17 seconds for Tamas Shimon over Marco Sanfilippo. It is then a further 8-9 seconds back to Andreas Henkel, and then a further 5 back to Danilo Sanfilippo. 1, 2, 3, and 4, you'd argue here by pace, as they should be.
Yeah, based on pace, you're exactly right. That's as they should be. Last lap by Marco Sanfilippo did set his fastest lap of the race, but still nowhere near the fastest lap with Tamas Shimon. And you saw, have a look at the gap there. There's Marco Sanfilippo going through now. That's 17 seconds. Henkel is now 10 seconds back. Danilo is faster than Henkel. So there's Danilo now and Henkel just ahead. Last lap by half a second quicker. The lap previous around about 0.8 of a second quicker. So Danilo Sanfilippo is definitely closing that gap in between he and Henkel.
Half a second, 8 laps to go, gap at 4.3. That puts him on the back on the final lap. That, for Andreas Henkel, is a call to arms to improve on 30.5s.
Yep. So there's the last 3 laps. So half a second, 0.4 of a second, over half a second lost to Danilo is Henkel on those last few laps. So he's got to find something a little bit more grip, a little more oomph. Just find a slightly different line that might give him a bit more pace, minimize the mistakes. In saying that, Danilo has made a mistake on this lap because the gap did stretch out to 5 seconds. It's come back into 4.5 again. But eliminating mistakes or minimalizing mistakes is now as big of a prospect as getting clean laps in. It now comes down to mistake-free driving with only 7 laps to go. Danilo makes another mistake. It's now back out to 5 seconds. So Danilo's pushing.
That's
probably
the issue.
Too hard.
Yeah, too hard. If you're going to put 101, 102%, you're going to be driving off the road. Look at this in terms of difference of lap time then. He goes through. That is a 130.6 as he crosses the line. That is nowhere in terms of time there by Danilo Sanfilippo. Compared to Andreas Henkel, he absolutely responded over the course of that last lap with his fastest lap of the race, which went a full second quicker than his last lap. So he did get the hurry up, did Andreas Henkel, as he went through. And my, what a hurry up it was. Keep an eye also on hurry ups. Philip Schiff here, he's only got 1.3 over James Chesters, who was a 10th quicker that last lap by.
And Cosdron through on far back as well while we were watching Danilo and Henkel there. So Cosdron finally gets that move done and he's just already broken away. So we sort of figured that he had good pace. I've done it again. Cosdron. So we knew he had good pace. So I think what we were thinking before, just making sure his connection stabilized before he actually went and made a move, was what he's done. And now he's starting to break away.
It was more the fact that Farback led him through on that one there. So, as you'd like to call it, Comas Tosdron has got the position and has done pretty well with that one, I would say, at this stage. Chesters, though, he's looking really, really aggressive and punchy at this point in time. He's keeping Philip Schiff very honest, not getting that gap down to a second or so, but he's just doing enough to keep that constant reminder in the back of the mind of Philip Schiff. You still have to push all out, buddy, because I am right there behind you if you start to falter.
100%. He's ready to pounce. One minor mistake is all it's going to take. Saying that, Philip Schiff last lap by was slightly quicker. Actually, the last 2 laps he was slightly quicker. So Chesters has lost a little bit of ground over the last couple of laps. It's still within 1.5 seconds though. So Chesters knows that he's close enough. He might just be letting the tyres come back down a level and then go again for a proper run. We have seen that be what drivers do every now and again, is just, bring the tyres back down, cool them off, just try not to scrub them too much before they get aggressive again.
I disagree with you there, Jay. Look at his last 3 laps. 130.2, 130.2, 130.2.
True. Very good point. So maybe he's just driving it at 99% ready to pounce at the end. Schiff being a little bit more inconsistent in his pace.
It very much looks like at this moment in time that Philip Schiff is just trying to find that level. It was 30.6, 30.3, 30.1. Schiff has been taking down chunks and finding that level of aggressiveness, improving lap on lap. Chesters is very much at a nice level right now and is just quietly running this one here in the battle going on for 5th and 6th position. Remember, these two drivers started 14th and 15th in this race. The fact that both of them are both the biggest gainers in the field, both of them are up 9 places here in this one. It shows actually just how well they're running. Behind them as well, Rashad Craig also running same times. He's 2 seconds back of this group. He does himself a 30 flat behind this. Another 30.2 for James Chesters. Another 30.1 Philip Schiff.
Yeah, Rashad Craig, he's not too far away at all, is he? He's closing that gap in. And 30 flat, as you said. So slightly quicker than Chesters. But yeah, that consistency from Chesters is very, very good, isn't it? Another 30.2, what's that? It's done nearly all of his laps as a 30.2 in this stint.
Yeah. Pretty much so. From his outlap onwards, it's been 30.2s. Looks really good. Do want to note that there was a race going on between Anthony Catt and Cal Young, lap 22. It all falls apart then for Cal Young. He spins coming out of Stowe Corner, and that is why he is now down 8 seconds in comparison to Anthony Catt at this moment in time. So he'll have that in the back of the mind as this race goes on forward. Something else will be in the back of the mind as well of Michael Farback, because he's just dropped a second over that last lap. As we look at your race leader, Tamas Shimon, 19 seconds clear at the front of the field. Farback is losing a second a lap to Jacob Oberslack.
Yeah, and Oberslack now only a second and a half back, so Oberslack closing in very, very quick. It's the first time I've actually looked at Oberslack all day, other than lap 1. So he currently in 10th position. He was one of the cars that ran off the circuit at the start of the race to get out of that huge incident. Avoided making contact with anyone and now starting to get into damage limitation mode, and he will likely get this spot on Farback because he's so much quicker. In saying that too, so much quicker. Fastest lap of the race, Tamas Simon.
1:28, 5, 4, 6. He's just been whittling away at those times. His last 4 laps have all been in the 28s and progressively quicker on top of that. He is reveling in this place at the moment. Does a 28.6 over the line that time, and it's just proof of how well he is driving. And when he decides to turn up, he took 2, maybe 3 weeks off here and gave all of what he needed. He knew he needed to turn up to keep himself in the championship hunt. And well, now here he is, and he is once again proving to Marco Sanfilippo, yes, you can be comfortable for a few weeks, dominating the field and driving away from Henkel and Danilo Sanfilippo and co. But I can drive away from you. And that is the key as we focus back on Jacob Oberslack and that gap, which is now under a second almost.
Yeah, 1.1. So he's starting to close that gap in, and you know he's got 3 laps to try and do this. But 3 laps is enough time. So he will be able to pounce on that last lap if he maintains the pace he's got. He's been around about 6-7 tenths quicker each and every lap over the last little while. This lap, Farback crosses the line, does a 30.5, and about the same lap time for Oberslack. So now that he's closed into within draft range, you might just be trying to get used to how the car will handle now, because of course it does handle differently in the draft as opposed to out there by yourself. So if you haven't been in draft of anyone for a while, getting the hang of that can be very, very important to making sure you stay consistent.
Absolutely. We were also talking about that battle between Schiff and Chesters, and Philip Schiff has just responded and said, what battle? Because he's just found a 29.6 over that last lap, and the difference is James Chesters, that's a 130.5. That battle is over Red Rover.
Not over Red Rover, though. fastest lap battle. Thomas Simon versus himself. He wins again.
Well, even if he loses, he's going to win because he's got the fastest lap, Jay.
Yes, but he wants to do it on the last lap. We've seen all of these guys in this series. They all want to try, whoever's in the lead or whoever's the fastest, whether it's been Simon or Sanfilippo, they've all tried to get the fastest lap of the race on the last lap. So no doubt we'll try and we'll see Thomas Simon push as hard as he has all day long on that last lap. In saying that, this lap here looks like it may be fastest lap territory again.
It's definitely looking that way. Tamas Simon is absolutely wringing the neck as we look back then with a lap and a half left to go at Oberslack versus Farback. And Farback here has just got Oberslack at an 8/10 buffer.
Yeah, we're now down to 6/10. Last lap by Oberslack found an extra half a second. And now he's starting to really be within striking distance of potentially getting this move done. See if he can get it done. It's going to be tough to get the move actually made. Really only seen 2 passing spots throughout this race, haven't we? Been turn 6 and the run down the Hangar Straight. There hasn't been too many passes in other spots on the circuit.
No, that's very true. Fastest lap again then as we go on to the white flag lap for Tamas Simon, a 28.3 as we focus on this battle for 9th. Oberslack will have another lap to figure this one through. Try and find this overtake. Try and gain that final position to move up through the gears and make that a reality. But struggling with the dirty air through Maggots and Beckett's, and all of a sudden, there isn't a move down the Hangar Straight. And the weaving starting to begin here from Michael Farback, who wants to shake the toe away from Jacob Oberslack. Very easy to do in concept. In reality, so much more difficult then as they make their way into the final couple of corners out there on track. There is Tamas Simon, though, who is on a mission to get a final fastest lap. He has set a fastest lap in each of the last 4 laps. He has gone across the line, and it's that level of domination that we have been seeing from him. It's almost like when one dominant force goes away, another one rises, but when the first original force comes back, it's stronger than ever. Tamas Simon has just sent a huge statement as he goes to the line. It's not a fastest lap, but it is a massive, massive victory in the context of this, because there is Marco Sanfilippo only now finding himself to the Vale and Club Corner to finish off his 2nd place. And that is a huge margin that he will look and wake up as he fights the car through the final section of road. Andreas Henkel, what a podium this promises to be.
Yeah, great for Henkel. He deserves a podium too because he'd driven really well for a majority of the race. Of course, great launch as well at the start to get himself forward. And P3 will be very happy with that. Dallara Sanfilippo, how's that for damage limitation? Horrible job in qualifying for his standards. Dropped all the way back down to 7th and finishes with a 4th.
Beautiful job then. Cosdron very close to Rashard Craig coming to the line. He's run out of laps. It's an incredibly quick run to that start-finish line. If you're not there alongside, that's it. It's gone. And same said for Jacob Oberslack. Just ran out of time. And someone else who's running out of time, Cal Young. That's 5 seconds here over this last lap. He's closed in on Anthony Cat. No damage on the car, it seems, for Cat, but he is really trying to get it through. Oh, I think he may be out of fuel.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think he was fuel saving to the max and, yep, wasn't able to get it to the line, and he is out. So, disappointing end. And just on the dominance of Tamas Simon, we saw how quick his lap times were down into the 28s. He did so many 28s in a row. Marco Sanfilippo only did 2 laps in the 1 minute 28s for the whole day. That's how dominant he was. You said he broke the fastest lap. How many laps in a row? Ridiculous
4.
number. Yeah. And in comparison, Marco wasn't close at all.
It was a mismatch. It was a total mismatch. It was like seeing a heavyweight fight a middleweight out there today. Tamas Simon, 45 minutes, 9 seconds. absolutely decimating the field, wins by 22 seconds over Marco Sanfilippo, who's just had the biggest wake-up call that this championship has produced so far. Andreas Henkel will get a massive podium for his championship effort, and he will be really happy with that, with Danilo Sanfilippo finishing it up in 4th position out there in the racing. Philip Schiff, a great top 5 after starting at the back of the field. He's found a formula that works for him, with James Chester's following suit, 6th position, starting from dead last. P15, both drivers up 9 places. Rashad Craig, very comfortable 7th place. A quiet drive tonight from Rashad Craig, with Tomasz Koztron, after that poor start, unable to really gain any traction. 8th place, only the finish for the Polish driver, with Michael Farbach in 9th, just about staving off Jacob Oberschlack, then in 10th position overall. 11th place goes to Cal Young. He had an incident with Michael Farbach at Stowe Corner and an extra spin, but it didn't stop Cal Young from taking the position of Anthony Catt, who of course had his spin in front of the race leader, but also ran out of fuel coming to the line. So Cal Young able to steal that one. 10 laps down for Brandon Powell, a non-finish. He retired the car with about 5 laps to go, as Omar Bahar and Thomas Tartari were casualties on the opening lap then of the race, and they will donate their iRacing over to everybody else in the field. But Jay, the focus now turns to where we go next time. Mie Prefecture. It is Japan, it's Suzuka, and the land of the rising sun produces some of the most amazing racing, and I would say almost fitting that Suzuka is so late on the calendar.
Yeah, I love this circuit. It's such a good circuit, and it's going to be fantastic to watch the racing there next week in these things. I can't wait to see how it plays out. It's going to be fantastic, and the championship fight is going to be so tight after today as well. Just going to add an extra spice to it.
And that extra spice you can catch with us here at SimSpeed TV with all the action that's going on. Worth reminding, ladies and gentlemen, we will not be showing you, repeat, not be showing you action of the VRS GT series in an hour's time. We have some power constraints that we are dealing with here at SimSpeed TV, and therefore we will be unable to bring you the coverage of the 10th round there, but we should be able to bring you some racing action for you next week, along with the Dallara Formula IRs. And tomorrow, Jay and Fonte will be here with the iGPS, which will be fantastic with the McLaren MP430. So make sure you check that out. Massive thanks, though, has to go to the Virtual Racing School, title sponsors for us on the replays, and with all of the work being done behind the scenes as well. We need to thank the open wheel community of iRacing for allowing us the opportunity to broadcast the Dallara Formula IRs and, of course, the iGPS over to you as well. From Jake Kennedy, who's been pulling double duties, cameras and commentary, myself, Jake Sperry, the message statement sent by Tamash Simon. Your championship is not a guarantee. I am here, I am back, and I am far faster than anybody else in this field. Marco, roll up your sleeves. Suzuka awaits. We'll see you a week from now when we head to the land of the rising sun.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my god! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?